To discuss, our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons, joins me now. And Rob, just how significant do you think those announcements are today from the French defence minister?
Well, they're clearly important for the Ukrainians, particularly as the César artillery system. It's a 105mm howitzer, is highly regarded by the Ukrainians. It's what's called a shoot and scoot system. In other words, they can fire off your artillery and then quit the scene as fast as possible and be well away before the enemy can find out where you were and counterattack. They've been very successful in Ukraine, so the Ukrainians will be, I'm sure, delighted to get another 12. I think that brings the total to over 40 now, closing on 50 Césars in Ukraine. And the fact that the French are stepping up their training of Ukrainian troops will be welcome too. You know, it's not just the French who are doing it. The British are contributing even more, I think, to the training than the French are, but others as well, including the Americans and the Canadians. So, you know, that is part of the effort. You know, why has Reznikov come to Paris at this particular moment? I think because, you know, it's coming towards spring now. The Ukrainians are desperately in need of the West stepping up their supplies of virtually every possible kind of weaponry. They're talking about aircraft, but I think at this point in time, it's not really the aircraft that are going to do it for them. They need stuff on the ground, like tanks that they've been talking about. They're getting the tanks now. They need to get them supplied in numbers as quickly as possible. The Ukrainians said today that they're expecting a first batch, according to their foreign minister, of 120 to 140. But quite when is not clear. They really need them before the end of March. And from the French, they're getting a whole range of weaponry at the moment, including infantry fighting vehicles, light tanks, the artillery systems we've just been talking about. There's been some talk about getting heavy battlefield tanks from the French as well, the Leclerc tank. But do they really want them when they're already getting different tank systems from the United States, you know, from Germany, from the United Kingdom, you know, in addition to the ones they've already got from their old Soviet stock? I think probably not at this stage. It's just too complicated in terms of maintenance and parts. The main thing is for the French to keep supplying what they've got, to step it up. France is just the fifth largest supplier of weaponry to Ukraine at the moment. And the Ukrainians are probably pushing them to up things a little bit.
And as you've been talking, Rob, we've just got a news alert from the French defence minister on all of this. He says there's no taboo when it comes to being asked about fighter jets. Perhaps that language is interesting, but, you know, in the months ahead, as we look towards the spring, that potential Russian offensive, new offensive, how do you think the Western military alliance is going to evolve now?
Well, you know, there have been so many red lines, haven't there? And yet then the red lines have ceased to be red lines. And I think really what the Ukrainians are doing at the moment is getting the debate about aircraft into the open. You know, the problem with the aircraft, the Ukrainians, even if, say, the Americans are given the go-ahead to the supply of F-16s, you know, in the next couple of weeks or so, it's going to take months to train them on them. So, you know, in terms of making a difference to what's going to happen this spring, to a Russian offensive and perhaps a Ukrainian counteroffensive, absolutely nothing at all. But I think what the Ukrainians are doing is getting the debate out in the open, so that when it does come to the point where they perhaps will need them, that a lot of the arguments will already have been fought, and they'll be in a stronger position to get things moving quickly. But at this stage, you know, I don't think anything is going to happen on aircraft. The French Defence Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, says no taboos. Others have been saying similar things. The Dutch have said that. The Poles have said it. And probably that's what the United States is thinking too, but doesn't want that debate to be out there in the open at the moment. You know, perhaps what the Ukrainians most of all need, looking forward, and what the one thing that has been a taboo up until now, which they may hope that can get through as quickly as possible, is called the ATA-CMS systems. These are long-range artillery systems, which can strike up to 300 kilometers, which would enable them to hit Russian arms depots and command posts way behind the front lines. That would have a colossal difference, make a colossal difference to what the Ukrainians could do in any offensive or counteroffensive.
Rob Parsons, our chief foreign editor. Thanks very much.